class, I'm going to introduce, especially for the new people, the individual who is going to do it. And this is also, it has just become a combined class, advanced and regular. And Mr. Tregenza, Mr. Tregenza is a longtime John Birch Society member. He's been 8 times in counselor camp. He's been an instructor a number of times, and he does a lot of great work. And he's prepared a really good class for you. And the reason many of you from the advanced class are here is because this was the one area where there was the biggest number of problems. So anyway, without further ado, let's give a big welcome to Representative Norman Tregenza.
Well, hopefully you have one of these little pocket constitutions with you. The one with our good friend on the cover. Who's on the cover? George Washington. Right. George Washington. And let's begin by talking about the preamble. And I know that Mrs. Harper, in one of your previous classes, did talk about the preamble and how that preamble stands for before walk. In other words, it's the statement that precedes your walk through the Constitution, preamble. So, let's read this together. We, the people. Geez, you know, my hearing isn't so good anymore. I couldn't hear that. We the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, secure the justice and liberty unto ourselves and our posterity, to ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. Excellent. Let's do that one more time. We, the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty for ourselves and our posterity, to ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. Yeah, I noticed a number of you were doing that by memory, so that is excellent. All right, now, the Constitution is set up in 7 articles. How many articles are in the Constitution? I couldn't hear that. 7. Okay. Now we are going to focus in this class on Article 1. Which article are we going to focus on? Article 1. Number 1. Okay. Number 1 can be described as the legislative article or the law-making article. Okay. Number 2 is, what's number 2? Executive. I heard a few. What was that? Executive? Yes, executive, right. Which talks about the president, right. And number 3 is the judicial, which talks about the court system. Right. Supreme Court primarily. All right. So let's do that together again. Article 1 talks about the or law making. Okay. Article 2 is about the executive branch. And Article 3 is about the judicial. Right. Okay. And then the other 4 articles that come after are much smaller and but the heart of the Constitution is the first 3 articles. Now, the legislature is also called something else, and it begins with a C.
Congress.
Congress, that's right. And Congress is divided into how many branches?
2.
Right. There's a really big branch and then a much smaller branch. What's the really big one called?
House of Representatives.
House of Representatives. And then the smaller one is called the I couldn't hear everybody.
Senate.
Okay, the Senate. How many members are in the Senate today?
100.
100. Who wants to raise their hand and tell me why? Teresa. Two senators for every state. That's right. Yeah. And why are there 2 senators for every state? That's all right. The reason why there are 2 senators for every state is because the Founding Fathers wanted the states to have various types of representation. The House of Representatives is by population. Okay? The Senate is 2 for every state so that all states have an equal representation as well as a popular representation. And that's a balance. Okay? All right. Now, this sentence that we're going to read together is John F. McManus's favorite sentence. Okay? Does anybody know what that is? No. That's okay. You're going to know right now. It's Article 1, Section 1, Sentence 1. Okay? So, let's... Actually, you know what? I'm going to read this first, and then we'll all read it together. All legislative powers herein granted. All legislative powers means all powers. Okay? Does not mean some powers. Does not mean most powers. Doesn't mean almost all powers. It means all powers. Okay? And that's all legislative powers, which means all law-making powers. And Mrs. Harper, I forgot to ask you for the watch. I do need the watch so that I can just track my time. Thank you. So all lawmaking powers herein granted. Herein granted means that the Founding Fathers have decided to put these powers into the document. Okay? Shall be vested in a Congress. And shall be vested means to be placed into. It's here. It's in this document. Okay? That's what those 3 words mean. Shall be vested means the Founding Fathers put it right into this big, beautiful document. Okay? Except it's not very big, is it? It's really very small. Shall be vested in a Congress of the United States. Okay? And the Congress shall consist of a Senate and House of Representatives. Now, there's a lot in this sentence, even though the whole sentence is only about 25 words. This is a sentence that says a lot, doesn't it? Okay? So let's read this together now, beginning with all.
All legislative powers herein granted shall be vested in a Congress of the United States, which shall consist of a Senate and House of Representatives.
The House of Representatives shall be composed of members chosen every 2nd year by the people of the several states. Okay? House of Representatives shall be composed of members chosen every 2nd year. Okay? Okay? Now this is the House now, not the Senate, the House. How often are members of the House chosen?
Every 2 years.
Every 2 years. Okay. All members of the House are chosen every 2 years. And right now there are, let's see, Right now, there are 435 members in the House. 435, House. Can't see it on the...
Yeah, I can't.
Well, you know what? That's the only pen that I have, so we just won't use that. Now, no person shall be a representative who shall not have attained the age of 25 years and been 7 years a citizen of the United States, and who shall not, when elected, be an inhabitant of that state in which he shall be chosen. Right? To serve as a member of the U.S. Senate, does anybody know how old one has to be? Raise your hand if you know.
35?
35? Close. 30. 35 is the president. To be president of the United States, you have to be 35 years old, according to the Constitution. Now we're going to skip ahead to section 8. Okay? The powers of Congress. Is everybody at section 8? It's on page 6. Okay. The Congress shall have power to lay and collect taxes, duties, imposts, and excises, to pay the debts and provide for the common defense and general welfare of the United States. But all duties, imposts, excises shall be uniform throughout the United States. So, can Rhode Island tax an imported product at a different rate than Maine? No. That's unconstitutional, isn't it? That is decided by Congress. Or actually, it should be decided by Congress, and it has usually been decided by Congress. But what's been going on in America in the last maybe more than 20 years now, is that sometimes Congress is allowing other people to make those decisions for it. Okay? Such as, who was the teacher? It was Mr. Wyatt. Mr. Wyatt taught you the class on NAFTA, right? The North American Free Trade Agreement, which was earlier today. And what has happened in NAFTA is that the U.S. Congress has permitted citizens in Mexico and in Canada to make decisions about what import taxes the U.S. Posts on other countries. Okay? So even though Congress has that power, it has turned its own power over to someone else. Okay? The next paragraph is to borrow money on the credit of the United States. Congress has the power to borrow money. To regulate commerce with foreign nations and among the several states. Okay? And that goes back to what we spoke about with NAFTA. Another one of those agreements is the World Trade Organization, which the United States joined in 1994, I think it was. It might have been 93 or 95, but it was right about that time. Just right about the time, or maybe a little bit before some of you were born. The U.S. Congress voted to join the World Trade Organization, which sets trade policy, which affects what America can charge another country to have a product come in. Okay. To establish a uniform rule of naturalization and uniform laws on the subject of bankruptcies throughout the United States. Okay? So, for example, when someone becomes an American citizen, whether they're becoming an American citizen in California, Virginia, New Hampshire, or the state that you come from, the laws are all the same. The process is all the same, regardless which state, because Congress has that power. Okay? Now, this is an important one. We're all going to read this one together. It's halfway down the page. It starts with to coin money. To coin money, regulate the value thereof and of foreign coin, and fix the standard of weights and measures. Okay? So here, the Founding Fathers have placed into this Constitution and into the legislative branch the power to coin money. Right? Now, if you haven't heard about the I think you've all heard about the Federal Reserve already in at least one class, but if you haven't yet, Mr. Pike, did Mr. Pike teach his class on the Federal Reserve?
I mentioned it too, so they heard.
And Mr. Novak's class mentioned it as well. So what has happened is the U.S. Congress has turned over its power and authority to coin money to a private bank, which has in turn changed our money from a precious metal standard to something that is not backed by precious metal, and that's called fiat money, F-I-A-T money, and that means I declare in Latin, or in other words, the government tells you you have to use it, and you really don't have a choice about it. So, in fact, if you have a dollar bill on you now, you can pull it out and open it up, and it says this note is legal tender for all debts, public and private. Other side, Georgia. There you go. Could you read that out loud, please?
This note is legal tender for all debts, public and private.
This note is legal tender for all debts, public and private. There you have it. No choice about it. And you have to use a Federal Reserve note. You cannot do business in another, with another form of currency. But that's not the way the Founding Fathers set it up, is it? Right in here. It says to coin money. Right? It doesn't say to print paper. Right? Yes?
I mean, like other kind of money, like
Yeah, it's a good question. And
Can you repeat
and
the question?
On a simple
Can you
level,
repeat the question? Because we didn't hear the question.
Oh.
Can you repeat the question?
why can't you use any other kind of currency or like something else to pay for something, whatever you need to buy? Like,
Why?
not like at a store, but like I don't know. You can, just anywhere if you wanted to buy something, or like you wanted to sell something, could you like take other kind of money if you wanted to?
You can. You can. On a simple level, you can do barter, okay? But once you get into dealing with a business that pays taxes, the business is required to give the government a certain portion by collecting a tax.
But it has to be in the kind of dollar bill.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So in order for the business to pay its sales tax to the government, that business has to require you to pay it in Federal Reserve notes. So it really eliminates the use of other forms of money down to just, if let's say you wanted to sell me your car and I had, whatever, I had some cows that you needed for your farm, and we made a swap. I mean, other than basic, really low-level financial decisions, barter and other currencies have been eliminated.
Yes,
Yeah.
you can't pay the government.
No, you can't pay the government in cows. Yeah. Yeah. Very good question. Okay.
Another question if you want it.
Oh, yes.
Where in the Constitution does it like define specifically properties and money?
Right here. To coin money, regulate the value thereof, and a foreign coin. And the U.S. Congress did that 1 or 2 years after this was written with the Mint Act, which was 1792, I believe. The Mint Act of 1792, and that defined a dollar as, Mr. Novak, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was 371.4 grains of silver.
Something like that, yeah.
Is a dollar. And that definition of a dollar has never changed. Now, if Georgia holds up her dollar bill again, and if somebody had 371.4 grains of silver and offered them to Georgia for the dollar bill, she would be glad to make the exchange. And you would be a fool to do it. Because that 371.25, I think.
Yeah, it's 371 and a quarter.
1/4. 371.25 grains of silver today is now worth probably 35 Federal Reserve notes.
Or 35 bucks.
Yeah.
Say again?
Yeah.
35 bucks.
About $35, yeah. Yep. Okay, so we're going through the powers of Congress. These are the things that Congress can do. It can provide for the punishment of counterfeiting, and, of counterfeiting the securities and current coin of the United States. Congress can establish post offices and post roads. It can promote the progress of science and useful arts by securing for limited times to authors and inventors the exclusive right to their respective writings and discoveries. Okay? Yes, Melanie.
What's a post road?
A post road is a road where a charge is made to travel on the road.
Oh, like a toll road?
Yep.
Oh.
Yep.
But they also talk of post offices and post roads, so it's a road you can deliver mail on, right?
Right. The road where mail can be delivered. Yep. Okay. And if you continue going down the page, you will see to define and punish piracies and felonies committed on the high seas and offenses against the law of nations. Now, the very last sentence on the bottom of page 6, let's read this together. To declare war, grant letters of marque and reprisal, and make rules concerning captures on land and water. Congress has the power to declare war. Okay? Now, in 2003, I believe it was like March, April of 2003, the U.S. went to war against Iraq, but Congress did not declare war. Okay? So the president, when he sent those troops there, violated his oath, didn't he?
No.
Yeah.
You can do that.
It was under the auspices of UN Resolution 1441, United Nations. Okay. To provide and maintain a navy, to make rules for the government and regulation of land and naval forces. And if you drop almost all the way down, well, yeah, this is at near the bottom of page 7. Okay, to make all laws. We're actually going to read this one together. To make all laws which shall be necessary and proper for carrying into the foregoing powers. Stop. Okay. You will hear members of Congress, after they've passed a law which interferes with your private liberties, something that the Congress should not be doing, right?
Well, you could, but eventually there has to be.
They will justify they're passing that law because they'll say, well, it says right here in the Constitution that Congress has the power to make all laws which shall be necessary and proper. And this is a necessary law. We need to have this law. Right? They don't read the whole sentence. The whole sentence says, shall be necessary and proper for carrying into execution the foregoing powers. Foregoing powers means all the powers we just talked about. The patents, the Army, the Navy, the naval forces, coining money, establishing post offices and post roads. Those are the powers that Congress is authorized to make laws about. Congress is not authorized, for example, to create a national driver's license. You know, some of you drive,